You won't find a more passionate group of content marketers anywhere else in the world.
This is an event that celebrates all of the how-tos, and you're going to see some of the best and most world-renowned speakers and experts on this topic.
This is where you come to find your people. Join us for Content Marketing World 2022, September 13th through the 16th. We'll see you there.
Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, everyone. It's Amanda with the Content Marketing Institute. Thank you so much for joining me for this special Ask the CMWorld community live stream, where each time we dive into a new topic with an awesome guest from our Content Marketing World community. This live stream is brought to you by the Content Marketing Institute. We are the leading training and education organization for all things content marketing. You can learn more at contentmarketinginstitute.com. We have all kinds of great content there. We have daily news articles, we have videos, webinars, ebooks, research, and so much more. So check us out over there. Well, here at CMI, if you've been joining me this summer, you know we are gearing up for our big event, and now it's just 2 weeks away, the largest content marketing event on the planet, Content Marketing World. And you can join us in person September 13th through the 16th in Cleveland, Ohio. Or if you're overseas, like many of you who join us each week, you can join us virtually. Our online event is September 21st and 22nd, which apparently I've been saying that wrong all summer long, so I apologize for that. If you've been joining me each week, like you know, we've been interviewing some of our amazing speakers who will be at the event, and today is no different. And we have saved the best for last this week. And when we are done here, wait till we're all done, and then you can head over to contentmarketingworld.com. You can check out the agenda, all the great content sessions, speakers we have lined up. We hope you'll be able to join us in person or online. You can head over there when we're done and register with that code that I just popped up there that's running across the bottom of the screen. And as always, when you join us today, please give me a virtual wave. Say hello. Let me know where you're joining us from. As always, you can feel free to ask questions, comments. We love it when you engage with us. All right, today's topic. All right, there's a problem in content marketing. We spend a lot of time and resources sweating our unique brand, and we know brand voice is a part of that. We know our brand needs a voice. No one in marketing wants to write boring stuff, right? That doesn't make us stand out from the crowd or our competitors. But as much as we know that, it's rare to find a voice that is actually recognizable, especially when you take away the graphics, the logos. That's because brand voice is hard. So today we're going to chat about some tips on finding the right brand voice. And if you've been around the world of content marketing, then you surely have heard of today's guest. Ann Handley is the world's first chief content officer, and she is currently the CCO of Marketing Profs. She was cited in Forbes as the most influential woman in social media, and she's one of the top 20 women bloggers by Forbes Media. She's a speaker and the author of the Wall Street Journal bestseller, Everybody Writes, which you can see I have back here. And she also has a new edition coming out this October, which we'll talk about. She was also the very first recipient of the CMI Hero Award that we gave out at Content Marketing World. Thank you, Ann, so much for joining me today.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Happy Monday.
I know. And 2 weeks from Content Marketing World.
Oh, 2 weeks. I'm going to need a little bit more time. So maybe, I'm thinking just throw it out here, but go back to Stephanie and all the folks at CMI and let's just kick it back like, I don't know, a week or two, because I need a little bit more time. Yeah, if that works for you guys.
Stephanie's joined us today. I'm sure she'll be totally on board with that, for sure.
Yeah, and let's frame it in terms of what's in it for CMI. A little bit more time to drive registration. I'm riffing here, Amanda, but I feel like this is coming up awfully fast, isn't it?
I know. First it was June and now it's September. So yes.
Oh, good. Stephanie's here. So she just said that sounds like a great idea. And we're down. Let's move the date. Cool.
Perfect. See, you have so much power here. So.
I'm joking. Anybody who is like, what? No, they would never move the date. No, it's going to be amazing. And if you have never joined us for a Content Marketing World before, you need to be there. And if you've been there already, well, it's like, I call it a homecoming, because everybody in content marketing, if you are aspirationally want to work in content marketing, or if you are already in content marketing, it's truly a homecoming where we all come together and see each other once a year in our adopted hometown of Cleveland.
And how many times? So you're going to be on the keynote stage again this year. You've been on it many, many times. And I love this idea for your keynote this year, that brand voice is the new logo. So why is brand voice, such an important part of a brand's identity today?
Yeah, well, I think you hinted at it a little bit in your opening remarks, teeing up our conversation today, which is that, we all want to be recognizable. I mean, very much our job in marketing is to differentiate the products and services that we sell, to develop our brands, and then to use them to build that trust with a specific audience. And so, I think in marketing, we have spent a lot of time thinking about what our brand looks like. And so we look at the logo, we look at sometimes the experience of that and the way it plays out across social channels and across all of our content assets. But one of the things that I've noticed in my career in content marketing is that we spend less time thinking about our voice. And what do I mean by brand voice? I mean, it sounds kind of, it can sound a little high-minded, I guess. It can sound a little literary if you were a literature or an English major in college. But really what it means is, how do you sound to your audience, to your customers? If you want to build trust with them, do you seem trustworthy? Are you building trust and affinity with them through your voice? And we in marketing want to use every opportunity we have, right? We want to pull every lever. And so I have just been so passionate about writing, but more specifically about how do we use that writing and our voice to communicate directly with the people who matter to us. And so one of the tests that I always talk about, and I've talked about it at Content Marketing World before, but I've thought a lot more about it, is that if you cover up the logo on your website, on your social channels, on your email newsletter, on your TikTok, any of it, if you cover up your own logo, do you sound different? I mean, do you recognize your own voice, or do you sound like everybody else?
Yeah, and if I see, if they spent so much time, like how many press releases you see, and hey, we have a new logo, and I'm like, they spent a little more time, maybe less on writing that press release about their new logo, and maybe more on finding their brand.
That's actually really hilarious. Yeah, that makes me want to research press releases announcing new logos, and that's a really funny idea, Amanda. I love that. Yeah, I love that.
Finding brand voice is not easy, right? It's hard. So, what are some mistakes maybe you see companies making when trying to find their brand voice?
Yeah, well, as I've researched and thought a lot about brand voice, I mean, one of the things I've noticed is that we tend to approach brand voice from the outside in, right? And what I mean by that is we tend to think about a voice that we think will resonate with a particular audience. And so and sometimes that's okay. Like, I think that's fine. But I think it's more impactful and more meaningful if we start from the inside out, right? And not only just inside the brand, but inside ourselves. I think some of the challenges or the biggest challenge, honestly, that we have with developing brand voice is that we haven't thought about our own voice as writers, because, we matter. Like, we bring something to this equation. And so if we can't really know our own voice as writers, I think it's hard to think about a brand voice. And in some cases, when I look at brand voices of other brands out there, and again, I've looked at this a lot and I've thought a lot about it. It looks a little bit like a bathrobe that they've put on and kind of to cover up whatever's underneath there. They've kind of layered it on. But in fact, as I said, I think it's much more meaningful if we think about brand voices as truly coming from the heart of the organization, and also coming from our own hearts as writers, as communicators, as content marketers.
So how can they go about kind of trying to find that voice? Are there exercises, or there ways or suggestions on how you can actually, for that brand, try to find that voice?
Yeah, I mean, well, you can come to Content Marketing World and you can come to my talk, because we're going to be talking about that at length. No, I think that there are a few ways, and I think an easy way is to think about mimicking the voice of other writers and other communicators. And I'm not talking about mimicking other brands out there. Again, I'm talking about your own personal voice. So just to tell a bit of a personal story around this. So, as you mentioned generously at the beginning of this conversation today, how I published Everybody Writes, the OG Everybody Writes. It was 8 years ago. There you go, visuals. And as I thought about, I knew that I wanted to update the book. I knew that I wanted to refresh it for 2022 into 2023. And so literally, Amanda, I thought that all I would need to do is, it's a best-selling book. I'm proud of it. I thought all I need to do is maybe run a vacuum over the pages, maybe like spray some Febreze around and call it a day. Like, it just probably needs a little bit of dusting and refreshing, and we're good. But the reality was that when I started reading it over again, now I haven't read it for 8 years, like almost since I wrote it. Like, every once in a while I'll refer to it for something, but I haven't sat down and read it. And when I read it, I barely recognized myself. And it was such a weird experience for me. And the takeaway for me was that, wow, my voice has changed an awful lot in 8 years. Like, I wouldn't use that phrasing now. So I wouldn't write a sentence that way. I wouldn't make that analogy. I would have dug into this a little bit more. And I started making these mental notes in my head about the first edition. And I realized pretty quickly that, oh, no, this is not a Febrezing, a spritzing, and a vacuuming situation at all. Actually, what it is I'm going to write an entire new book. And so that's what I did, which is kind of nutty, I guess, is one way to look at it. But I don't know. It was the only thing I could do. And so I changed basically every word in that book. And I added a whole lot to it. I took away some stuff. I cut all the boring parts. And the reason why I did that is because I think content marketing has changed, certainly. I think that there are new pressures on content marketers to, again, build that trust with our audiences. I think we want to use every opportunity that we have. I think writing has changed. And so I wanted to talk about all those things in a new way, but I also wanted to talk about it in my voice in a way that was relatable to content marketers in 2022 and 2023. And so, yeah, that's what I did. And so to answer your question, I was kind of a long-winded side story, but the reason why I even bring that up at all is not to talk about the book. It's really to talk about the idea that my voice has evolved, my voice has changed, and I didn't even realize it. And I think it's important for us as marketers to think about, our own voices. And so when I thought about why has my voice changed over the 8 years, it's because I started reading differently. I started kind of reading authors who I thought were closer matched to my own voice and maybe a little bit like aspirationally the kind of writer I wanted to be. I started reading them more carefully and looking at how do they put sentences together? Like, how can I be like, how can I challenge myself to be as good as them or at least try? Again, this isn't about copying somebody, but it's about getting that inspiration, internalizing it to improve your own work. Um, and so I think mimicking is a perfectly great way to start about, retooling your voice and evolving your voice. And again, I think that we as writers need to be thinking about our own voices if we are to then, take it to the brands that we work for and say, okay, I really understand my voice and I think I understand how I can help us evolve our own voice as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Is to one, keep revisiting, right? Because
Yeah.
everything changes, and that's what you do with anything. Is you look at something that you aspire or you're inspired by, and you say like, how can I be like them? How can I be like Ann Handley? Because she's an awesome writer, and I'm nowhere near that, but I want to be like Ann. So
Yeah.
um, I think that's a great point for, you don't have to copy them. You just have to kind of take pieces and make it your own. Because if you copy them, you're not going to be your brand.
Right. Well, it's kind of like think about like how babies and how toddlers learn to talk, right? The way that they learn to give themselves a literal voice is to mimic the adults around him. And I think that's a great analogy for us thinking about how do we develop our writing voices. So, I've had this long-standing practice of when I see a piece of writing that I feel is really good, is really solid, I will copy it longhand in my journal. And I do that because I want to feel it in my hands, but also you can sort of learn a little bit about it. I'm literally like acting like a baby and mimicking what does this feel like? I'm going to repeat it back to my journal, to myself in that way. And I've learned a lot about like what makes for great writing for something like that. I think a lot of us think that, goes back to my original concept behind Everybody Writes. A lot of us think that, there are two kinds of people. There are the writing haves who are excellent writers, and then there are the writing hapless, the people who cannot write, that they're just like, oh, I can't write. I'm not just a miserable communicator. But I don't believe that's true. And I think that, we're all writers and we're all capable of stronger, recognizable voices, but it's got to start within us.
Yeah, I also think a lot of I don't know. People then it goes back to like writing, like simply for me. It's like people, well, they're using all these, big words and whatever. And it's like, well, that might not be your voice and that might not be the best way that you communicate. You have to, be you, but still,
Yeah.
you can still write, but you just be you. I don't know. Just.
Yeah. Yes,
Right.
exactly. Yeah. And I think, you asked about a couple of brands who I think do it well. I think we tend to default to the brands that we remember as like fun or snarky. And there's a lot of great brand voice examples of that, like Chubbies, for example. I've talked about them on the Content Marketing World stage in the past. They sell like kind of like swimsuits and like beach apparel and sports apparel to mostly like to fraternity guys and to like 20 young adults, 20 somethings, 30 somethings, and their brand voice is fantastic. Like I think it's amazing. Gooder is another brand, Goddr, sunglasses company, another great brand voice. But those two examples, I think, are examples of brand voices that are a little bit like edgy and snarky and funny and a little sarcastic, and that's fantastic. Like that works for them because it very much is their brand. But I think there's a real deficit in understanding, okay, well, that's not us, right? We're not that. We're a B2B brand solution. We sell technology solutions to IT people, right? So we're not going to adopt that kind of brand. So what do we do? And that's what interests me, because I think that, it's I won't say easy, but it's a little bit less. You're going to get less friction internally if you have a brand voice and you're like a Chubbies or a good or you're representing that kind of company. But if you're not that, like, what do we do, right? And so that's truly what the people I want to speak to from the stage at Content Marketing World, because I think there's a lot we can do. We don't have to think like, oh, we need to be fun and snarky and sarcastic. You know, if that's you, great, but I don't think that's necessarily the answer. I think instead it's really about figuring out who you are as a brand and who you are as a creator, and sharing that with your audience.
Right, because that snarky piece of it, it can be fun, can be hard to maintain, and also hard to sell to the big bosses. Like,
yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're selling, but very often, like, the brand voices that we hear celebrated in, you know, across, you know, all of the that we hear just celebrated across everything is that voice. And again, I love that voice. I think it's fantastic. It works for them, and I love the fact that they're paying attention to it. But brand voice is not just that, you know.
What did JK says he has 5 pairs of glitter glasses
from Gooder.
I think so is what he meant. And he has a Rolling Stones pair. So yes, he likes glitter.
I love that the gang's all here. I love that.
Oh, they're all here to say hi. Well, the gang will be at Content Marketing World. Ann will be at Content Marketing World. And after Content Marketing World, your book comes out. Here, let me pop it up here. Tell us about you told us a little bit about the book. So I have a little website here where you can go and pre-order, right?
Oh, that's so nice. There she is.
There she is.
Doesn't she look more fun?
She does. I'm not going to lie. When I saw the picture, I was like, oh, that's so cute. So you can go to cmi.media/everybodywrites or pre-order a copy of the book. Let me pop it up here. I have the original here. So I thought it was a lot more fun in here. Not that this isn't good.
Yeah, right. Exactly. The funniest thing about the new version of the book is that I did that as kind of a joke, and then I shared it on LinkedIn as like when I was pretty close to the end of the writing aspect to it, the writing part of it. I did that doodle and I shared it on LinkedIn as a way to talk about like that I had finished the writing of the second edition, and people went nuts. They were like, "Oh my God, that cover is so great!" And I was like, "Well, that's not actually what the cover is going to be." And I was in negotiation with Wiley at the time around a couple of different colors that we were playing with. Like maybe we make the cover black and the glass is white. It's just like nothing was really feeling right, and so. That's why you should always workshop your book covers on LinkedIn or anything, I guess.
That made your life a lot easier though, right? You were like,
it did. I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
We've got it. You've got a really old copy, Amanda, by the way, because you've got one of the originals.
I do
yeah. I mean, I don't know how much you paid for it, like maybe $20, but that's probably worth like 18. So
I don't think you signed it. I'll have to bring it so I can like have it officially, like if it's original, like
wow,
from you. So
well, you really do have that's probably one of the first copies, maybe from Content Marketing World like 8 years ago, because a month after that was released, then it ended up having the red Wall Street Journal, bestseller banner across the top of it. Here,
which you have up there. Yeah, I didn't get that one.
Yeah, so see, it looks like this now.
Wow, yeah, you're right. Yeah, mine does not have the red banner.
Yeah, yours looks like a nudie, but that's because it's you've got the OG version.
I must have got it at Content Marketing World.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will be there. Ann will be there September 13th and 16th, just 2 weeks away. You could still register. Use the code LIVE100. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. This is making me psyched. Yeah.
In 2 weeks. And for the rest of you, we're gonna leave you today with a little promo to show you what Content Marketing World is all about. And we hope to see you there. See you, Ann.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You won't find a more passionate group of content marketers anywhere else in the world.
This is an event that celebrates all of the how-tos, and you're going to see some of the best and most world-renowned speakers and experts on this topic.
This is where you come to find your people. Join us for Content Marketing World 2022, September 13th through the 16th. We'll see you there.